What if every panic attack, every moment of profound sadness, or just a sudden burst of anger wasn't actually happening to you?
Right. Like it's not your actual identity. Yeah.
Exactly. Like, what if the core of who you are is completely immune to fear, and what you're experiencing is, I don't know, simply a glitch in your invisible hardware,
Yeah.
like a miscalculated formula of heat and wind energy?
It sounds kind of radical right off the bat, but, well, it completely shifts how you interact with your own mind. Because if you stop identifying with the anxiety
Yeah,
and you start viewing it as this mechanical error in how you process reality, you immediately take your power back.
which is huge. Welcome to the deep dive.
Well,
We're exploring a super fascinating framework today. Specifically, we have this stack of translated excerpts regarding the theory of color and light, or Nazraya Noor.
such a profound
It
text.
really is. It's drawn from deeper explorations into the architecture of creation, the human subconscious. And, well, we're looking at the idea that the universe basically has a source code.
Yeah, and that your subconscious mind is essentially the terminal used to read that code.
Right. And that human beings are fundamentally designed to manipulate these hidden energies.
Hmm.
I mean, this isn't just theory. It's an intensely practical look at the intersection of spirituality, psychology, and parapsychology.
And, I think the most compelling part of this entire framework is the demand it places on you, the observer. It actively asks you to stop looking at the surface of things.
If you do that so much, right?
Oh, constantly. We spend our whole lives interacting purely with the manifestation of reality, the user interface, basically.
The UI.
Exactly. Like, you look at a massive skyscraper and you see the glass, the steel, the polished concrete. You accept it as a finished, solid object.
Right. It's like clicking icons on a desktop. You just trust that the folder opens.
Precisely. But behind those walls, there is this hidden network of structural load-bearing formulas, right? The plumbing, the wiring.
The structural source code that keeps the entire thing from just collapsing.
Exactly. And this philosophy argues that there are two distinct ways to view the universe. The first is through the conscious mind, which only sees that physical UI, the glass and the steel.
The surface.
Yeah, but the second way is through the subconscious mind, which is actually capable of seeing the underlying formulas.
Okay, let's unpack this, because here is where we hit our first major paradigm shift. The framework claims that your subconscious inherently knows the shape, the movement, and the inner senses of every single atom in the universe.
Which is a wild concept.
Right. It says your subconscious already possesses this knowledge. The issue isn't that the data is missing or hidden from you. The issue is that in our waking lives, we simply don't know how to study our own subconscious to access it.
Yeah, we've lost the login credentials, essentially.
Exactly. Which brings us to this concept of pre-existence and the divine command kun, which translates to be.
Right, a really central idea here.
Yeah, because in this view, from the absolute beginning, or azal to the absolute end, abad, everything has actually already happened.
All already there.
Yeah. The creator's mind contained a comprehensive program where past, present, and future already existed as completed formulas. When the command kun was given, it didn't just kick off a linear evolutionary process.
No, the whole program appeared. Trillions of worlds, instantly pre-existing in these foundational formulas.
Which fundamentally redefines time, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Because we experience time linearly, right? Like walking down a hallway, opening one door after another.
Very, very sequential.
But this proposes that the entire building, every hallway, every room, every event was constructed the exact moment the command was gone.
Okay, wait, I have to push back here. Because if everything from the beginning to the end already exists, aren't we just robots playing out a deterministic script?
Yeah.
Like, where's the free will if the ending is already coded?
That is exactly the friction this concept creates. And it's resolved by looking at how we interact with the code.
Okay, how do you mean?
Well, imagine a massive open-world video game.
Oh, I like this analogy.
Right. The developers have already coded the entire map, the final boss, every possible ending, every item. It all exists simultaneously on the disk or the server.
The code is finished.
But your experience of the game, like what you discover, how you feel, the path you choose to navigate that pre-written code is entirely up to your level of skill and awareness.
Ah, okay.
The universe is a completed program, yes, but reading that program correctly requires a very specific state of mind. It requires absolute neutrality.
Neutrality. Man, this is where it gets incredibly difficult. If human nature is inherently self-preserving, right? How do we actually achieve the neutrality the text says is required to read the source code?
It's the ultimate challenge.
Because anytime I look at a situation, my brain immediately calculates, how does this affect me? Will this cost me money? Does this make me look good?
Which means your ego is acting like malware.
Malware.
Yeah, it's distorting the code. Neutrality means observing the pre-written program of the universe without trying to force your personal narrative onto it.
Wow.
When you project your own biases and desires onto an event, you literally blind yourself to reality. You're looking at the user interface and getting angry at an icon for not doing what you want, rather than reading the binary code to see why it's happening.
So neutrality is the profound ability to step back and observe the raw data untainted by your own motives.
Exactly. You can't read reality if you're constantly writing over it.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
You can't read the architect's blueprint if you keep taking a Sharpie and drawing your own floor plans over it.
That is a perfect way to put it.
But okay, if our personal bias acts like malware, distorting the code we see, then what is our actual role here? Like, if the universe is a pre-written program, are we just passive observers trying not to mess it up? Or can we actually write new code?
Here's where it connects to the bigger picture.
Right.
We are absolutely meant to write new code. Yes. This is where the concept of tasruf comes in, which roughly translates to control or disposal or utilization. The framework draws this fascinating theological distinction. It points out that the divine is often referred to as the best of creators.
Okay, well, wait. If there's a best of creators, that inherently implies there are other creators. Us.
Precisely. We are the sub-creators. But there is a mechanical difference in how that creation happens. Divine creation is not bound by resources.
Right.
The intention alone summons all necessary resources into existence instantly. Human creation, traditionally, is entirely resource-dependent. Like, we have to gather materials to build something.
Yeah, the classic example given in the text is electricity.
Yes, perfect example.
The divine command kun created electricity out of nothing. It just came into existence as a raw foundational element.
It was just part of the code.
Right. But human beings observed it. We didn't invent electricity, but we pondered its attributes, we studied its laws, and through tasruf, we created thousands of sub-creations. Light bulbs, computers, global communication networks.
Iron is another one they mention. It was sent down as a raw physical entity. But by deeply observing it, by activating its components without trying to force it to be something else, humans built the entirety of modern infrastructure.
Right. The modern physical world is built on humanity's tasruf over iron.
Exactly.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. We have to leap from the physical to the metaphysical.
Yes, the big jump.
Because it's one thing to have tasruf over iron. It's another to have tasruf over the hidden blueprint itself. The framework argues that just like iron is a physical entity, light, or roshni, is also an entity.
It is a raw foundational material.
Yes.
What's fascinating here is that this is the absolute core of the theory of color and light. It posits that if you can move beyond just the science of physical resources and learn the knowledge of lights, you can create without having to gather physical materials.
Yeah, it is mind-bending.
You can trigger the foundational lights of an object to bring it into existence.
And the text calls these foundational lights nazma. In spiritual traditions, it's the nazma. In modern esoteric or maybe parapsychological terms, it's often referred to as the aura.
Exactly. It's the same concept.
But how do you actually manipulate an aura? I mean, it's not like waving a magic wand. You're saying that mastering this is the ultimate knowledge transferred to humanity, the knowledge of names. But practically, what does that look like?
Well, it looks like a complete paradigm shift in how you view your environment. The universe isn't just a physical habitat, it is an educational field, an ilm.
Okay.
Tuning an aura or manipulating Nazma requires bringing the brain's frequencies down to that deep subconscious level where raw light behaves like a physical material. You have to access the metamental sphere of human life.
The metamental sphere. Okay, let's explore that hardware. Because obviously I can't just, stare at my coffee cup right now and manipulate its Nazma.
Right, not quite that simple.
To access this metamental sphere, the framework maps out the architecture of the brain. And I honestly have to challenge how it does this.
Oh.
Well, it states that the right side of the brain represents consciousness, which creates our waking senses. And it maps the left side of the brain to the subconscious, creating our night senses.
Okay, I see where you're going.
Now, wait. Mapping consciousness entirely to the right brain and completely dismissing the left as the night senses feels incredibly reductive. Neurology tells us both hemispheres are active in consciousness, logic, and creativity. How does this spiritual mapping reconcile with actual biology?
That's a really crucial distinction to make. If you look at this as literal physical anatomical geography, yeah, it will totally conflict with modern neuroscience.
Right, they'd laugh you out of a lab.
Exactly. But in the context of parapsychology and this specific framework, right and left are used as structural analogies for the flow of data.
Oh, analogies, okay.
Yeah. The right brain here is symbolizing the active, outward-facing receiver, the mechanism that deals with immediate, temporary stimuli. The left brain symbolizes the deep, inward-facing storage, the mechanism of profound, permanent understanding.
Okay, so it's less about gray matter lobes and more about systems of processing,
Yes,
like a computer.
exactly. How would you map it to a computer system?
Well, the conscious mind, what they're calling the right brain, functions exactly like RAM.
Oh, random access memory.
Right. RAM is incredibly fast, and you absolutely need it for your waking senses. You need it to drive a car, to hold a conversation, to read an email. But RAM has zero permanence.
None at all.
The framework points out that anything processed only in this conscious state goes straight to the forgetting compartment.
Like rote memorization.
Yes. You cram for a test, you hold the data in your RAM, you pass the test, and a week later, it's entirely wiped. You don't remember a thing.
That is an excellent way to conceptualize it. RAM is fleeting. But to take that analogy further, moving data to the hard drive isn't an automatic process. Just because you experience something in RAM doesn't mean you actually learn from it.
Right. The deep hard drive is the subconscious, the left brain in this model.
Yeah.
And the framework emphasizes that you have to actively push information past the conscious RAM to write it permanently onto the hard drive.
And how do we execute that save function?
Yes.
Through deep contemplation, through immersive, non-judgmental thought.
The neutrality we talked about.
Yes. This explains so much about the modern epidemic of anxiety. If you are living your entire life in your RAM, just dealing with surface-level stimuli, rapidly reacting to your environment, constantly refreshing your social feeds.
You are living in a state of constant impermanence.
Exactly. Everything is fleeting. You are constantly filling and wiping the memory.
That sounds exhausting. You're trying to render the entire video game app using only your RAM, and the system is overheating.
Precisely. But pushing experiences into the deep subconscious through focused contemplation brings profound, unshakable understanding. Once the data is written to the hard drive, it's permanent.
Which brings us to a massive question. If we move data to the subconscious hard drive, who or what is actually reading it? Like, what is holding this data? Because we aren't just flesh and bone computers.
No, we aren't. And this is where the physical and metaphysical finally merge in this text. The philosophy states that the true human is not the physical body.
Right.
It's not even the physical brain. The true human is the soul, the Ruh.
And here is the most staggering claim about the soul. It says, the soul itself is completely free. It is absolutely immune to anxiety, to conflict, to deprivation, and to disease. The soul is essentially perfect.
So the immediate friction there is obvious.
Yeah. Because if the core of who I am is perfect and immune to anxiety, why am I so anxious all the time? Why do we experience conflict and disease?
Because the soul isn't interacting directly with the physical world. It needs a medium.
Right. It can't just touch the keyboard directly.
Exactly. The framework explains that the soul creates an invisible body, the Care Marie insane, and this invisible body is the ultimate filter.
So what does this all mean? The filter dictates our experience.
It acts as an intermediary. And crucially, this invisible body has its own authority. It can choose to interpret the soul's perfect information however it wants based on the stimuli it receives from the physical world.
Really?
Yeah, the soul might be transmitting perfect peace, but the invisible body, scanning the environment, might interpret that data through a lens of scarcity or fear.
Just as everything in the physical universe is created with exact measures and formulas, the text says this invisible body operates on billions of precise metaphysical formulas.
Yes.
And they are categorized into 4 fundamental energies: water energy, electric energy, heat energy, and wind energy.
And this raises an important question about how much agency we give away daily, because this is where the concept of tasruf, of control, becomes deeply personal. All of our psychological and physical states are nothing more than mixtures of these 4 energies within the invisible body.
Let's break down how these energies actually manifest, because this is where the theory becomes a practical tool for you, the listener. If these aren't just metaphors, how do they show up in our daily lives?
Let's look at heat energy. In the physical world, heat causes expansion, it creates combustion.
Right.
In the invisible body, a spike in heat energy manifests as aggression, intense drive, or anger. It is the energy of immediate action.
Okay, so when you lose your temper, your invisible body has essentially miscalculated the formula and flooded your system with heat.
Exactly, it's a formula imbalance.
What about wind energy?
Wind is movement. It's erratic, it shifts direction constantly. Mentally, an overabundance of wind energy manifests as anxiety, scattered thoughts, overthinking, and panic. Your mind is racing, blowing from one worst-case scenario to the next.
So an anxiety attack isn't a permanent flaw in my psychology. It's literally just too much wind energy running in the invisible body at that specific moment.
Exactly. You are experiencing a windstorm in the UI, and on the flip side, you have water energy.
Which I assume is the opposite of wind.
Right. Water flows, it adapts, it seeks the lowest, most stable ground. In the invisible body, water energy represents profound calm, adaptability, and emotional depth.
And finally, electric energy.
That represents sudden illumination, sharp insight, rapid neurological connections, the aha moments.
This reframes everything. If you are sick or if you are overwhelmed with depression, your core soul isn't broken. Your fundamental self is perfectly intact.
It is untouched.
The issue is simply that your invisible body is misinterpreting the data from your conscious RAM, and it's mismanaging its mixture of water, electric, heat, and wind energies.
Think about the power that gives back to you. You aren't at the mercy of your emotions. Your emotions are just energetic formulas.
Yeah.
And the ultimate promise of this framework is that a student who masters the knowledge of these formulas, who learns to tune these four energies, achieves immense peace.
Because they are finally utilizing the knowledge of names. They are using tasrif on their own internal nazma.
Precisely. Fear and sorrow are replaced by absolute tranquility because you are no longer identifying with the wind or the heat, you are just observing it.
You step out of that limited, temporary consciousness, that RAM, and step into the expansive, transcendental world of the sponge's hard drive. You are reading the source code of your own existence.
You become the programmer of your own experience.
Now, let's bring all these concepts together because we've traveled from the macrocosmos all the way down to the micromanagement of our own internal energy. We started with the idea of living in the UI, looking at a skyscraper, and only seeing the glass, never the blueprint.
And we learn that the universe is a pre-written program brought into existence instantly with the command kun.
Right.
But rather than making us passive robots, this pre-written code is an educational field.
We possess tasrif. We are sub-creators. We don't just have to build with physical resources like iron. We have the capacity to build with light, with Nazma, the foundational auras of reality.
But to do that, to even begin to do that, we have to achieve absolute neutrality. We have to drop the malware of the ego.
Which requires us to stop living entirely in our temporary conscious RAM and instead use deep, non-judgmental contemplation to push knowledge into our permanent subconscious.
Because that is the only way to bypass the erratic filter of the invisible body.
Yeah, it's the only way to balance the water, electric, heat, and wind energies so that the perfection of our core soul can actually manifest in our physical lives.
It is a breathtakingly complete system of reality.
It really is. So I want to leave you, the listener, with a highly actionable challenge today based on this exact framework. I want you to think about a recurring stressor in your life right now.
A really specific one.
Right. Let's say it's a highly critical email from your boss that always makes your heart race.
Normally, your conscious RAM receives that email. Your ego projects a narrative of fear onto it, like, I'm going to get fired, I'm failing.
Yeah.
And your invisible body reacts by flooding your system with chaotic wind energy. You experience an anxiety attack.
But today, I want you to try applying the source code. When that email comes in, do not let your ego attach a narrative to it.
Just observe it.
Achieve neutrality. Remind yourself that your core soul is entirely immune to the contents of that screen. The fear does not exist in your true self.
Observe the physical sensation in your chest, not as an attack on your identity, but simply as raw wind energy moving through your invisible body.
Yeah, literally name it. Say, my invisible body is currently processing a high amount of wind energy.
By naming it and observing it without judgment, you are moving the experience from the volatile RAM into the deep contemplation of the hard drive.
You are tuning your own aura. Next time you feel that panic rising, don't just stare at the UI. Remember that you hold the blueprint. You just have to read the code. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us. We'll catch you on the next one.